ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to this edition of Drive Time on this lovely Tuesday, May 26th, coming to you on this special day. Since yesterday was Memorial Day, I want to give everyone a chance to do what they wanted to do on Memorial Day. So I am joined once again by Showtime Sarah Scooters, sadly off on assignment once again, having to do his real job instead of pretending to do a job here on Drive Time. So Showtime, how are you doing today?
To quote Taylor Swift, right? I am trying to build a castle out of the bricks being thrown at me. So, but we're doing good. We're on the mend.
Well, if you can do that, then that's a good thing. Yes, I know it's been a rough little bit for you. So, of course, that we have up here. We can like, follow, and subscribe to us on Facebook or YouTube or X, and we really strongly recommend that you do that. And then you also have, of course, us to where you can listen to us the next day on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pocket Cast, Podbean, and Castbox. So all kinds of good ways that you can check out the show here live, of course. So we hope that you do so. But we got a big show, so I do want to go ahead and get into it. We're going to start, we always talk about this of the sad things that we have to start with. And this one I think probably shocked a lot of people. And this came out, late last week, which was the passing of Kyle Busch. So we're going to do this kind of in two parts. I'm going to let Sarah take over the first part of this with going over kind of his accomplishments on the racetrack. And then I want to kind of give a little public service announcement to a lot of people because I don't think a lot of people really have a true understanding of sepsis and what happens with that and why it happens. So I do want to get into that because I figure, look, we we end our show every time with hug those that hug everyone that you love and tell them that you love them because tomorrow's not guaranteed. And I think the passing of Kyle Busch at 43 is a prime example of that. So Sarah, go ahead and give your thoughts on that side of it from the racing side and just on his passing.
Yeah. So I started watching probably around like I think maybe like 2016, like 2018, sometime during then. And at that time I was a Kevin Harvick fan. So there was a rivalry between Kyle Busch. I'm gonna be honest. Didn't really like fully like the guy. If he was racing, like I didn't I if if he was fighting for the lead, I wanted any other racer to win. It was kind of like that relationship with him. Nothing against him, just and like he's a crazy passive guy, like it just the I'm sure you've seen a couple audio clips of him racing and everything. He's
Hmm.
just very verbal and like you love that energy, but like he can't be mean sometimes. But I mean, nothing against the guy. Like you hate him because he's good and everything, and he was good. He raced for about 25 years. With NASCAR, obviously with the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series, and obviously the Cup Series, being a two-time Cup champion. Um, just a phenomenal driver for sure. Um, he was the 2005 Rookie of the Year. Like he came in hot. He's always been hot. He's always been part of for discussion. Of course, last week he just won the truck race in Dover. Absolutely insane that he ends that race talking about you never know which one's the last one, and then next thing you know he's gone not even a week later. It's just absolutely insane how much time goes by, and just again you just truly never know which one is the last race. And obviously we'll talk about the Coca-Cola 600 and how they honored him, but just an absolutely shocking death.
Yeah, I mean, and it definitely was, and and there was the side of this that right when this first came out, of course, immediately wanted to go to some, right-wing conspiracy theory about COVID and vaccinations and everything like that. And then as it turned out, he ended up having pneumonia and also then, ended up getting sepsis from that, which is what he ultimately passed away from. And that's kind of what I want to touch base on because, look, for anyone that's followed my knowing my wife is heavily involved in the medical field, and when she first moved to North Carolina to work for one of the hospitals down there in the Raleigh area, this was a bigger deal, 10, 12 years ago with sepsis and healthcare professionals learning more about it. And she took this on head on. So I got a little bit, enough to be familiar with it. And I know a lot of people are like, well, what even is sepsis? So I do want to kind of cover that because look, like I said, if we can do one thing in this show, and that's maybe keep somebody alive that shouldn't pass away at 43 years old, then we do anything better than talking about sports. So, for those that don't know, sepsis is an extreme reaction to an infection. And that can be any type of an infection. You can have any type of infection in your body, and you can get sepsis from it. The problem is that sepsis, its symptoms are mimic symptoms that you might just think is either, your whatever you have getting worse, or it could be symptoms that you just are kind of take to a common cold even. It's fast breathing, confusion, fever, severe pain, and discolored skin. The key though is the fever. If you're getting a high fever and you cannot get rid of it, go to a hospital. Fever is probably the number one symptom of sepsis. You cannot treat sepsis at home. I think that's kind of what Kyle Busch tried to do, because he had this big race coming up. He doesn't want to miss the big race. When he passed away, and the way that all that news was coming out, the first thing I said to everyone here was, "This sounds like sepsis," and that's exactly what it ended up being. Sepsis kills 100,000 people a year still, and it's not because the hospitals don't recognize it. The hospitals have a lot of good courses now to recognize when somebody comes in that could be septic or have septic shock. The problem is that a lot of people don't go to the hospital. They don't go to see their doctor when they're having these symptoms. And then when they do finally go, it's too late. And that's unfortunately what happened to Kyle Busch when he, by the time he really recognized the symptoms and realized that he needed to go to the hospital, it was way, way, way too late. He'd already passed out in the simulator, and and it's a shame. So my only thing I can tell folks is this: is don't fuck with sepsis. It's nothing to fuck with. It can take your life, and it can take it quickly. The longer that you try to treat it at home and it's ignored, every hour that you do that, your chance of dying from it goes up 8% every hour. So think about how far along that clock that Kyle Busch had to be for him to pass away, and for the hospital basically to not be able to do anything. Basically, by the time he got there, it was too late. By the time he went in there, so it's sad to say, you can't replicate the treatment by drinking a lot of water at home, and then trying to get IV antibiotics. That's not going to do it. Those antibiotics and fluids have to go at a fast rate, and that's why it has to happen at hospitals. So just a quick public service announcement. I think that's only fair, like when we're talking about the way that he passed away, that we can use our voice here to make people more aware of sepsis, because a lot of people have no clue what the hell it is and what it can do to people. So if you watch the show and you get that out of it, then in my mind, we've had a great show already today, no matter what you think of what else happens in this. So Sarah, any final thoughts on Kyle or anything else that you want to add to this?
I mean, you were talking about him pushing through. It's true. Last week after Watkins Glen, he's immediately on his radio being like, "I need my doctor after this." Just claimed he was fighting through a sinus cough, that kind of thing. And obviously it did turn into pneumonia and then obviously sepsis. But I mean, he did fight. I mean, he was going through it with Dover, and just like I was talking about with my mom, just like how different athletes truly fight. I mean, like, gosh, in hockey, a guy gets hit with a puck in the face. He's usually out by the second period. Like these players, they have racers, drivers, they have all this momentum to just keep playing and just don't stop. I mean, just constant. They have a crazy, I don't know why the word's blanking on me, but just their momentum. They're always go, go, go. They barely stop. If their body's telling them to stop, they barely listen. I mean, it sucks, but I mean, kudos.
And I get it that the Coca-Cola 600 is a big race. Like, it's one of the biggest ones of the year. You don't want to miss it. Like, I understand all that, but there'll be other Coca-Cola 600s, and how many more could he have raced in if he would have just done that?
Well, he wasn't going to race anyways. He did step out.
Did he? Okay, but was that after he? Okay, I wasn't sure when.
Yeah, he did. He did step out. He did step out, and then he was hospitalized Thursday. I think it was like Wednesday night, and then obviously he passed away Thursday. Yeah. But he was going to not race in that, but it just truly shows that he did push it until the last second.
Exactly. So, all right, let's do this because that's kind of a somber subject. So let's do a reset with a commercial break. And then we're going to come back with some entries in Oh Say Can You Sing. We're going to be right back after this. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. So let's get into some good topics. So we start off, of course, with my love for the national anthems, and we had quite a few to go through here, including our first 50 of this postseason in hockey. So we started off with the game seven, which we'll get into that from Buffalo Montreal from the divisional final. And I don't Buffalo changed their anthem singer, and I don't want to say that that's why they lost game seven, but it could be why they lost game seven. They had Cammy Klum doing the whole year. And then all of a sudden they changed it up to Doug Allen. And look, he wore tux, so he gets some bonus points for coming out in the tux. I do love it when they come out in the tux, but it was okay, just not great. He got a 42 on his U.S. and his Canada was a 40, so not bad. He was decent, but not great. Amanda was a little off on her game. She's been right in the mid 40s for most of the playoffs, but I don't know. She sounded nervous and rushed a little bit. Then Carolina did something different too in game one, which they also lost. They had Mason Greer come out. He sang "Oh Canada" and he tried to do parts of it in French, which I get. They're playing Montreal, but why are we kissing their ass? I don't know. I didn't like it. He was okay singing wise, but I just didn't. I don't kiss the other team's ass. Like sing the national anthems. That's all you have to do. So I didn't like it. It ruined the mojo. Adam Lee Decker though came out, got it one of his best scores of the season with the 44. Adam's progressively gotten better as these playoffs have gone on. Then game two for Colorado again was okay in the 40s. Adam Lee Decker then has a couple more where he did okay again, and then Cardinal Johnson, which was the first game in Vegas. And he's always scored high. Like I've always said, like he gets 47s without even trying, just because of how he sings it. But he delivered it this one, and that was really good. So he got our first 50. Then we had whatever the national anthems were last night in Montreal. I don't know why they've gotten away from doing Sylvester Alexandre. He was a really, really good anthem singer. For some reason, they stopped using him after game one in the early rounds. It was this Eleanor Legacy, which was actually a group of four girls. One of them was trying to, like, because they're trying to do harmonies and stuff, and she's sitting there doing this weird thing with her hand throughout the whole
Okay.
entire thing. They sounded terrible. At one point in time, their mic wasn't working, and I'll give the Montreal crowd credit. They were singing the Star Spangled Banner. They probably should just left the mic not working and let the crowd sing the Star Spangled Banner. I think the crowd would have scored higher. If I'm being honest, I think the crowd definitely would have scored higher than what they scored. So they get, and then I thought, well, okay, maybe they just suck at the U.S. national anthem. They'll be better with their own national anthem. No, it was equally terrible. So they got 231s, which is by far the lowest score of the year. So we've had the highest score with a 50, and then we've had the lowest score on back-to-back nights. Now, I do also want to give credit because I did watch them. The Indy 500 was done by Jordan Sparks, who is on our Super Bowl list, and she scored a 48. She was really, really good. The only thing I didn't like was it just was a bit long for me, so she lost a couple points there. But I had her Super Bowl at a 47, so she scored 1 point higher than what she did there. And then the Coca-Cola 600 was a military guy, Craig Morgan Greer. And usually I like the military guys. Usually they score pretty well. This guy just didn't do it for me. He had the twang, with the country twang, which was okay, but I think he even missed a couple of the words, which really was kind of bad to me. So he got a 40. So not terrible, but not the greatest either. So there we have our "Oh Say Can You Sings." Do you have any anthem thoughts out there, Sarah?
Okay. The hand thing, it's conducting. Remember when like I was in band, that's what they do with their hands. She was trying to like weird. Yes, I saw it and like I did think it was weird. It's like, okay, like why do we have to keep time with the anthem? But like no, she was just simply trying to conduct. Again, I
Why
don't
do you
know why,
conduct the
but that's
force?
what it
Yeah,
is. It's not something
exactly.
weird.
That's going to be a new rule. No conducting while you're doing the national anthem unless you're an orchestra. Then you can have somebody conducting. So there you go. New anthem rule just established today because I'm allowed to, because it's my list and it's my segment and it's my bit. So there we have it. So any other anthem thoughts out there, Sarah, that you want to share?
No.
I do want to see, because I'm pretty sure. Let's see here if I'm right here about this is the fun part now with my list here real quick. I think we had Amanda. Yeah, see, like these were 40s, and she's been that this is her lowest score since 2025. She's been in the 44s and 45s all this year. And then if we check out our good old buddy Adam Lee Decker here, he's, like I said, like his 44s, like these were his best scores. He's been way above where he normally is in the low 40s. So congrats to you, Adam Lee Decker. You are climbing up the list there. And then just to show, like, we talk about the man here. Let's go to where's good old Carnell. That area is. So like there's this 50. So this is the second 50. He had a 50 last year. And then he's 48, 47, 46. I mean, like I said, he's just Mr. Consistent there. So there you have it, folks. There is your Osei Can You Sings update. We'll keep that going, of course, here as we keep moving along here. Hopefully we'll get some more basketball ones in here, but for whatever reason, these early rounds, they just don't like to show the anthems. So with that being said, let's get into what happened in the weekend. And I mentioned the NBA last night. We did have a sweep. The New York Knicks kindly took the Cleveland Cavaliers out of their misery. After game one's debacle for Cleveland, where they blew a 20-point lead with like 7 minutes to go, they just never were even really in a game after that point in time. The interesting thing is I thought for sure the Cavs would be very quick to fire their coach, Kenny Atkinson, because it seems to me like this team has quit on him. But it seems like they're bringing them all back. It seems like Harden's going to be back, Donovan's going to be back, and the coach is going to be back. The LeBron rumors are already starting, but we'll see. I don't know if that's going to be what fixes this thing. But here we are again with the Cavs where they are. So any thoughts on the Knicks Cavs, Sarah? Nope. I didn't think so, but I just want to make sure. I don't assume that you don't have anything to say. The other series has been really, really good. San Antonio, OKC, they are tied at 2. Their 5th game is tonight. That game starts at, I believe, 8:30. I think they're on NBC tonight, if I remember correctly. That's going off memory, so if I'm wrong, please forgive me. But that series has been great. I know a lot of people are riding the Knicks and their momentum really, really well. I still think that whoever wins the San Antonio Oklahoma City series is going to probably win the whole thing. These two teams just seem to be better than the Knicks, and not that the Knicks aren't good, but the teams that they've gotten to beat have not been great either. So we'll see when we get to that point in time. I assume. Any thoughts on that fun series? Okay. Then we had the Indy 500, of course, was this weekend. This was a crazy race. I'm not big into auto race, but I did get to see the final 2 laps of this, and it was just really, really crazy. Felix Rosenqvist defeats David Malukas in one of the closest Indy 500s ever. The last 2 laps were just crazy. David takes the lead with 2 laps to go. He's trying to hold off Felix and then his teammate Scott. You can see like he's doing everything in his power trying to keep these two from passing him. Like he's swerving, he's making it really difficult to pass. It looks like he's going to be able to hold them off, and then on the back stretch, they finally get a good run on him, and they pass, and one of them passes him anyway. But again, it's one of the closest races ever, and you feel bad for Malukas, who's just a young kid from the U.S. He's sitting there crying afterwards, so that was tough luck for him. But what a crazy finish for the Indy 500, and it was good to at least see that race have a good, solid, great ending. Did you see any of that one?
I think it was on a little bit, but I wasn't fully like paying attention to it. It was funny because I got like a couple clips from TikTok. Rest in peace, Gary the groundhog, I think. I'm pretty sure Groundhog got killed.
Well, I can see that happening in Indy for sure. And then we also had the Coca-Cola 600, which Daniel Suarez won that. This was, of course, the more emotional first race for NASCAR series after Kyle Busch passed. Christopher Bell finished 2nd. Denny Hamlin finished 3rd. This was Suarez's 3rd career win. That is the extent of my knowledge of the Coca-Cola 600. And I'll now turn it over to Sarah to give a little bit more in-depth detail.
So I think I was working during this, which I really kind of wish I wasn't. I picked up a shift, money. But I did obviously want to see the opening, but obviously I got a bunch of clips from it after all. Again, just the way they opened it up with Trish trying to remember Kyle Busch, Bubba Wallace kneeling down at him, his brother Kurt putting down 8 roses. They obviously had the 8 painted. It was just a beautiful segment, I think, and obviously them supporting Samantha and their children, Brexton and Lennox. They did say that they were going to push away the 8 and give it to Brexton when he's ready to go to NASCAR. I think that's a truly phenomenal thing to do because I do think Brexton will do that. It does low-key run in the family, but it was just such a sweet moment. Now the race was just canceled. I mean, it was rained out basically, and they deemed Daniel Soros the winner. So I wish it was kind of a different little ending than that, but I'm still, it was pretty memorable, emotional as well. So I think it was still a good race to get back.
All right. Well, there you have it. I did not know that it didn't end with on the track that it ended with rain
It
happening.
was
So
like
how many?
lap 373 out of, I can't remember how much it was,
600,
but
right? Isn't it 600 laps?
yeah, it
Or
was
no,
like
that's
600 or
600 miles.
something.
That's not. I don't know. That's not
But like
600
they
miles, not
were
laps.
I think they just wanted to go to bed.
I
And it
can.
just kept
Yeah.
raining. It's been raining here for a little bit, which we need. Thank God.
Yes, you guys are getting the rain that we need there. So, all right. So that's it for these two segments. We're going to get into some baseball. But before we do that, let's go ahead here and take another quick little break. And then we will be right back. And we are going to get into some baseball and a special section of grind my gears because something in college baseball has ground my gears yet again. We'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. It's time for some baseball talk, and I'm gonna start with a little bit of very little college baseball, and this gets into for those that don't know, I love my mid majors. Like everyone knows I went to Kent State. Everyone knows I feel that mid majors get dissed all the time. See it all the time in football and college basketball. And look, I'm first to admit that this year I was glad to see the MAC got the two schools in basketball, and they both shit the bed in the tournament. So like I get that part of it, but we saw it again with baseball. 64 teams were announced. And teams like Kentucky, who had lost 8 of the last 9, they make it into the tournament somehow. Teams like NC State get into the tournament with only winning 30 plus games. And I get it, their coach is retiring, and he's been a long-time coach forever. I 100% understand all of that part. It's a great story for him to go out on that. Meanwhile, these mid-majors keep getting screwed though out of making the tournament. And the prime example that I actually have is not Kent State, even though I think Kent State could have made an argument to get in this year. Well, I'm going to give a stat about that later, but it's Mercer this year. Mercer wins 44 games. They finished 28 in the RPI, which is the number one metric that college baseball uses. They won 20 plus games on the road. And yet they lost in their conference tournament, which happens, especially in baseball, where you face one pitcher, it can screw you over. And somehow Mercer is left off. UT San Antonio, another team that had a really, really good off-season schedule that played a lot of these big schools, doesn't get in. High Point, another school in North Carolina, they play a lot of these big ACC schools. They had a really good tournament, really good show. Doesn't get in. Miami of Ohio, they finished in the top 40 in the RPI. Kent State finishes in the top 40 in the RPI because they play these big schools and they beat some of them. Kent State, Miami of Ohio, and Mercer are the first 3 schools to finish in the RPI in the 40s, win 40 plus games, and win 20 of those 40 plus games on the road and not make the tournament. What do they all have in common? They don't play in one of the big 4 power conferences. So I'm just so sick and tired of seeing the mid majors get screwed. Like, and the guys talked about this with the college basketball expanding to whatever, like 824 teams now that get in. We all know it's not going to help the mid majors get in. The mid majors are still going to get screwed. So I say this: it's time for the mid majors to tell the NCAA, give them the big bird, say F you. We're all splitting. We're going to go form our own conference because clearly the NCAA doesn't give a shit about the mid-major schools. They're supposed to care about all the schools. They don't. They care about making money. They care about the big power conferences making their money and not leaving them behind. So with that being said, it's time for the mid-majors to just do their own thing. They just need to do their own thing at this point in time. They need to do their Spike Lee and do their own thing because they're not getting the love in these tournaments. So why should they even try to compete in them anymore? Let's just see a tournament of mid-major teams. Like, I would love to see that in basketball. I'd love to see that in baseball. Hell, I'd love to see that in football. So there we go. Midnight Rider saying, imagine a commercial break without a WrestleManiacs ad. I don't think in my feed I have the WrestleManiacs ad to do, Ben. Maybe I do. I don't know. But yeah, I just stick with the 16, 15-second commercials. I don't do anything.
Where's the drive time commercial? Where's
I know.
our ad?
Well, but they always play our intro on their shows. So I just stick with the little 16, 15 seconds to catch my breath, hit a button or two, and then that's it. So, but there we have it. So, uh, Sarah, I know you're an NC State fan, and I just threw NC State's baseball team under the bus. I will give you a few moments if you'd like to rebuke my grind my gears. You are welcome to do so.
I don't really know how to rebuke it. I mean, it just seems like you're upset that they're not put into the playoffs. At least like with the college basketball, like you're obviously like trying to, oh my god, what is even going after? But like you wanted all of this representation for like obviously like the mid majors, and then they would obviously lose in the first round. So like I mean, if that's what you wanted, you just want them to be put in the playoffs to
I just
lose in
want
the
him
first
in. I just
round.
want him in the show,
Yeah, like I mean,
especially especially in baseball. Mercer's
I get
beat
that
somebody.
aspect. I get that aspect, but like I still think NC State is in. Maybe pick some other teams to not
Well,
not
I
be
said
in.
Kentucky too because they lost 8 out of 9. Like Kentucky to me is a bigger how the hell did they get in than NC State. But
Oh,
since I
there
got
you
like
go. That's fine.
since I got like two or three teams though that I think that should have been in for mid majors. Oh, and
You
here's
gotta,
the other
yeah,
little
you gotta
fun
do it.
stat. Um, 30 of the 35 at-large bids were Power Four conferences 2 years ago. This year, all of them were power conferences that for the at-large bids. So yeah, just not good. It's just not good for mid majors. They're going to continue to get screwed. So there we have it. All right. So there's some college basketball, college baseball talk real quick. So let's take a look at the standings now because we are getting to a fun point in the year. We're about 50 games in. So believe it or not, we're near that third waypoint. We now have 4 teams in the AL that are above 500. Cleveland's gone on a nice little run to get up above that stretch. Chicago, the White Sox just keep winning. They're 27-26, a nice little pleasant surprise in the Central. Uh, since the Scooble injury for the Tigers, it has not been good for them. They continue to fall. They are down to now 21-33. They had recently just lost 8 in a row. And who wants to win the AL West? This is the one that is just really still fluttering. The A's are there at 27-27. Seattle's starting to play a little bit better, but still 26-29. And then the rest of the teams are sadly the Astros are 24-31, but they're only 3.5 out of first. So, and they threw a team no hitter yesterday. Not quite as much fun as when it's just one individual guy. So there's the AL standings. Any thoughts on the AL side of things, Sarah?
Are we talking about hot teams league wise, or are we just going through the standings and then hot teams?
The standings. I have hot teams coming up there after
Okay,
me.
okay.
Hot who's not.
I mean, I know you were concerned like what 2 weeks ago about like, oh well, the AL League not being as good because there's only a couple teams that are still above 5. I mean, what it was it 3? Now it's 5.
Three. Three. Now it's four, and technically, because the Chicago or the A's are at 500. So you got 4 teams above, 1 team at 500.
Hey, it's getting better.
It's getting better. Exactly. That's true. And if we take a quick peek over at the NL, Atlanta's just running away with the East. They have a 102 run differential through 54 games. They're 8.5 up on the surprising Washington Nats. I'll be honest, like when we were talking about this before the season started, I did not have the Nats being a game over 500, 55 games into their season. I thought they'd be towards the bottom of not only the NL East, but towards the bottom of the entire league. So they have been a pleasant surprise with the runs that they are scoring. They are a fun team to watch. Sadly, I watched them hit a lot of home runs against Cleveland yesterday until the Canes game came on to take me away from that. The NL Central just continues to be amazing. Every team's still above 500 in the NL Central, and the West, the Dodgers have gone on a nice little run. They're still, San Diego's still hanging with them, but it's really those 2 teams and then kind of everybody else right now. So, anything on the NL standings you wanna throw out a highlight on?
Um, I mean, kudos to Atlanta. I think that's a stronger team out of all of them, and they're
Yeah,
doing
Atlanta.
better than the Dodgers.
They are. Atlanta is just on a run right now. So we talked about this. So who's hot? I'll start with, of course, my Cleveland Guardians. They are very, very hot right now. Ever since they called up Travis Bazzana, he's just added some punch to the lineup. Not only just adding punch, but he gets on base. He's leading the league in walks. As far as since he came up to the league in the first part of May, they are 8-2 in their last 10. They've won 14 of their last 17 overall. They're getting the starting pitching, other than Tanner Bybee, who just can't beat anybody. But the other four guys have all been lights out. Cade Smith has been excellent at the back end. And now that they're actually starting to score some runs, that's always been the question for Cleveland: is can they score enough runs? And if they can keep this going, they're starting to pull away a little bit in the AL Central. So I like what I'm seeing from my guards. Sarah, do you have any thoughts on Cleveland?
I like it too. Obviously, like made fun of you for hating on Tanner Bebe because he shares my birthday. But like that's just like the one player that I'm going with. That's my favorite player. So like I'm just trying to stand up for him. But I didn't watch that game at all, so I couldn't tell you. It's just me
He
being
gave
blind.
6 home runs in 3 innings is not good.
Fine, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. So, and sadly, the LA Dodgers are hot. They have won 8 of their last 10. You look, I mean, we all know what is on this team. We all know what they have. Sarah, what are your thoughts of the LA Dodgers?
What's the Atlanta Braves are better. I hate the Dodgers. What the
There we go. Thank
I'm,
you.
look, okay, maybe I'm in an extra hating mood, but like, yeah, no. It
Thank
doesn't
you.
matter.
Hey,
Atlanta's still better than them. It's fine. And
I
wasn't
just
San Francisco behind them? Like my predictions, I think, are still intact.
yes, yeah, right. Well, no, LA's back ahead of San Diego right now, so they have
Was it
they
San
have
Diego or
passed.
San? I think it's San Diego. I predicted, but
I thought you said San Francisco for some
it's
reason.
one of them. Either way, it's still
One of
fine.
those Dan
Everything is
teams.
fine. This is
Yeah,
part of the plan.
San Fran's a little bit. They're 22-32, so they've not pulled it. I thought their pitching was going to be better than what it is. So, but I just last week I gave you so many layup, or whenever we did this baseball segment a couple weeks ago, I gave you so many layups and you just didn't take them. So I needed to put something in here to give you a layup for a hate, and you followed through on this one. A couple players that are doing really really well: Ketel Marte for Arizona, 17 for his last 29. 3 homers and 13 RBIs during that stretch. Then you also have Teoscar Hernandez. He's 8 for his last 21 for the Dodgers, 2 home runs, 8 RBIs. Gavin Williams in his last start for Cleveland, 8 innings pitched, 11 strikeouts, no runs against Philly, which Philly's been playing a lot better with the since Don Mattingly came around. And then Jacob Misiorowski just continues for Milwaukee in his last two outings, 13 innings pitched, 20 strikeouts, only gave up 1 run. And of course won both of those games. So just some phenomenal pitching between Gavin and Jacob right now, which both of those two are towards the top of the league leaders in strikeouts. And we'll get back into the league leaders probably next week. We'll start showing those again. But do you have any other players that you want, or teams that you want to add to the Who's Hot list, Sarah? Or any other comments on who's hot?
Not Aaron Judge.
Not Aaron Judge. Well, there you go. I haven't even, although I think he is towards the league leaders, unfortunately, in homers. So
Don't put that.
don't. No. Okay, I won't. All right. Then, as far as who is not hot right now, the Tigers we'd mentioned before, they've lost 8 of 10, 13 of 17. They've not been good with trying to adjust without having Tarek Skubal, who is arguably one of the best pitchers in the league. The Cubs, the NL Central is so weird with these teams going on these runs, and the Cubs are one of them. They've now, after a run where they won like 10 of 12, they've now lost 8 in a row to go back into the middle of the pack in the NL Central. Cal Raleigh, who was neck and neck with one Aaron Judge last year, off to a terrible start in Seattle, which is part of the reason why Seattle just has not been able to really get going. 161 batting average and only 7 homers for Cal. Bo Bichette, with the New York Mets, he's only batting 210, only has 2 homers. Corey Seager for Texas batting a nice 179 with 7 homers at least. But I mean, these are all stars that are not playing like all stars for sure. Sarah, do you have anyone else any comments for anyone that's on the who's not hot, or any comments or anyone that you want to add to this list?
Aaron Judge is not hot.
Going to I'm going to the side. That's close enough. I'm going to count it. I think that's close enough. I'm counting it. I am counting it. Yep, we're going to count it.
He's not hot in baseball, and he's not hot in general. He's ugly.
Yep, I think not hot is basically saying hate. So therefore, that's why I'm counting it. So we're going to count it. That's what I decided. We'll just count it. So, all right. So there we have our baseball. Anything else you want to add baseball wise before we get into some hockey?
No.
Chip is asking, what's the Judge hatred? LOL. Do you want to
Um,
expand for Chipper?
so like it kind of started with hating the Yankees, which I think is fair to hate. Just in general though, my ex was a Yankees fan, so like that's also a base of it. But I just also again hate the Yankees. It's fair. Um, but and Aaron Judge is just because like look at him. Have you seen his face? It's not pleasing. Just it's you have to hate the guy. Like there's no other option. You just have to hate him. Like it's you have to understand this shit, okay? Just trust me. Just trust me on this.
I think I kind
I'm
of done.
sorry.
I think. Good job, Chip. Thanks for helping out there. We need to get the hate counter up this week. So good. At least she took it from somebody. Last week when I was trying to set her up with this, she just kept not taking the bait and wouldn't say it. So we're getting out of our system this week. I like it. So all right, there we go. There's some baseball talk. So let's get into some hockey. I again like I just love it. Oh, hold on, we got some comments here. So before I get into the TV ratings here, let's throw out these here too. Let's
This
see
is how we get
here.
the comments. Just get me on
This is how,
Aaron
yeah,
Judge.
just says, I'm not checking out his looks, but yes, hating the Yankees is fine. Uh, Lee Ice checking in, liking. I think he likes what you're selling there. So there you go. So, all
Get
right,
the
yeah,
t-shirts ready.
get the t-shirts. Yes, absolutely. So,
Yeah.
all right. NHL wise, we are just I'm just delighted with what we're seeing here. Game one for Montreal, Carolina, which was on a Thursday night, had 1.72 million. That beats last year by 20%. Comes a little short of the 2024 Eastern Conference Final Game one, which was the Florida Panthers and the New York Rangers, which was only 1.98. So a game one between Montreal and Carolina was only 0.16 million less than Florida and the New York Rangers. I'll take that. Game one out west on Wednesday night was a 2.12 for Vegas and Colorado. So again, that was the highest game one ever for the West Conference Finals. So the NHL they just got to be tickled pink with what these numbers are that we are seeing for sure. So I know I'm tickled with them. I love it. I hope it keeps going through the playoffs, and we'll get more into the series as we keep going. And yes, Chuck checking in with the Canes, and yes, we will be talking about the Carolina Hurricanes here very shortly. The PWHL, we talked about that there would be a 12th team. We feared that might be somewhere out west to go along with Colorado, and it does end up being out in San Jose. So another good fit. So the PWHL is going to go from 8 to 12 teams for next season, which I love. Will be curious to see after next year if they go any higher than 12. There are still some cities I think that would work. Pittsburgh's probably the leading one of those that doesn't have a team that I think would be one, but we'll see. I'd like to almost kind of see them stay at 12 for a year or two and see how this goes. But it's really good for the league. They set attendance records everywhere. They just need that TV deal in the States because right now, other than Ion and YouTube TV and a few games on Prime, that's all that they get. I'm hoping that they can get the TV deal because clearly women's hockey is catching on. Sarah, I assume you're also equally delighted with the success that the PWHL had this year.
Oh, 100%. I mean, like obviously, I think some people are upset about Denver, Pittsburgh, but not getting it. But I think San Jose is an easily good option. It's a great area. It's gonna be the first California team, so I think you'll get a lot of market over there. So I like the pick. I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's good for the league. It'll be interesting to see when we get to that point in time where they have to decide what teams are going to keep when they get ready for the expansion drafts and stuff like that, and who goes where. That'll be
Mhm.
interesting to see for sure. But to speaking of PWHL, we do have a champion there. It is the Montreal Victory. They end up winning the Walter Cup. They took out Ottawa in 4 games, 3 games to 1. The final game was all about Anne Renee DeBenz. She just was amazing this entire series. Kind of got her revenge a little bit over Gwyneth Phillips from the Team USA. So they won the series. That the last game was, of course, another tight one. It's another 2-1 game. Abby Rourke scores her third and fourth goals, but the MVP was, of course, Marie Philip, Poulin, who is one of the all-time greats. It'll be interesting to see what she decides to do now that she's won this. She's won the gold. Does she come back for another year or not? I don't know. Her speech kind of made it seem like that she's not done playing yet. I think she still enjoys it, and she's not that terribly old. So I think she's coming back. But I could also see her saying, "Hey, it's time to be done." But I think she's still got some money out there to make with them too. So do you get that feeling too, Sarah, that she's coming back for another year at least?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, Montreal overall was a great team. So I think they'll try to protect a lot of players. Obviously, it'll be interesting to see how much they are able to protect. But definitely one of those they will.
Yeah, with four teams coming in the league, you figure
Because like I think
23.
last expansion it was like only 6 players they could keep or something. I don't
Yep,
remember
that
which
they
one it
that they
was.
could protect. Yeah, I mean they're probably gonna have them protect less than that. You would think with four teams coming in, but we'll
Hmm.
see what they do. It'll be interesting for sure because you want those teams to be somewhat competitive. You don't want them to be completely awful, but you're also going to have a lot of free agents because the PWHL contracts are all kind of different too. So they'll have some players to get from. So that's the ladies' professional side of it. Now let's get into the guys. The East Coast Hockey League. We are down to our final four. Florida is taking on Wheeling, and then you have KC Mavericks and the Fort Wayne Comets, which were the two top points teams in the East Coast Hockey League. They are battling each other. Florida leads Wheeling two games to none. Florida won both games 1-2 in low scoring games 2-1 and 1-0. Their game 3, I think, is tomorrow night. And then KC leads Fort Wayne 2-1. They've gone back and forth with KC winning games 1-3, 5-1 to 6-4, and the Fort Wayne wins game 2, 4-3. So KC's kind of, I think, going to pull away from that series. The Wheeling Florida series, that thing has, Florida's up 2-0. Florida's only lost one game this whole entire offseason so far, and KC's only lost one too. So I think it's ultimately going to be KC and Florida, but we'll see what happens in the East Coast Hockey League. You just never know for sure. The American Hockey League also down to its final four. Chicago takes out Grand Rapids 3-1. Then you had Colorado defeating Coachella, so that's 3-1. Those two will go up against each other. So basically, you have Carolina going against Colorado as far as their affiliates go. Unfortunately, the run for Springfield, which had an amazing run, came to an end. And they took Wilkes-Barre Scranton to 5 games, but they do lose that. And then Toronto takes out Cleveland in a gut-wrenching game 5. This one, Cleveland was up 2-1 with 5 minutes left to go in the third. Toronto ties it at 2, and then with 12 seconds left in the third period, Toronto scores the game-winning goal, the series-winning goal to win that series 3-2. So you have Toronto going. So you got the baby Maple Leafs going up against the baby Penguins on one end, and then you have the baby Canes going up against the baby Avalanche on the other side. So there is your AHL update as far as that. None of those series has started. They will all start Thursday this week is when these series will start. And now, where they've all been best 3 out of 5, these now shift to best 4 out of 7. We do also have the World Championships going on. This is always a weird tournament because it always happens during the NHL playoffs. So these rosters are always different for each country, depending on who's available. A lot of the players that played in the Olympics, even if their NHL team was out of it, decided to hold back. The U.S. struggled in Group A, but they did win their last 2 games to advance to the elimination round. They finished 4th in Group A behind Switzerland, Finland, and Latvia. Canada runs away with Group B, and also making the playoffs are going to be Norway, Czechia, and Sweden. And the way they do this is reverse, which means the top team from Group B faces the lowest team from Group A in the knockout round, which does mean we will have another U.S. versus Canada battle that is going to come up. I believe that's going to be tomorrow when that happens. So I'm not expecting this would be a big upset based off the 2 rosters because the U.S. just doesn't have a lot of NHL talent on this roster compared to the Canadian squad. And I think this is Canada's tournament to lose just based off of what the rosters look like. But you never know. Get a hot goalie, and maybe U.S. does it again. Anything on the East Coast Hockey League, AHL, or the World Juniors that you want to throw out there?
I haven't really been paying attention to either of them, but I mean, I'm excited for the matchup for sure. For all of them, I guess.
Chuck puts in there's nothing else to discuss, and then he puts in here Kachuk. The Kachucks were both well, they both were available if they wanted to play. I
Hmm.
thought one of them, well, actually, Matthew did go and play. Brady did not, but Brady season, he did at least have the playoffs. So if I remember correctly, I think Matthew did go play over there. But I the Worlds is just it's an interesting little thing. But I just thought it was interesting because we do have yet another U.S. Canada matchup at least on our heads. So all right, so there we go. That is that update. But now we get to the NHL stuff. So let's do this. We're going to take our final commercial break, and then we'll come back and we'll get you caught up on the amazing series that are going on in the NHL Conference Finals. So we'll be right back after this. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. So it's time to get into the NHL side of things. Now, remember when we had our show last Monday, we had Game 7 between Montreal and Buffalo, which was an incredible Game 7. It goes to overtime, which I love. Montreal does defeat Buffalo in that Game 7, thanks to an Alex Newhook goal about 10 minutes into the overtime. This game was, one of those ones. Montreal gets off to an early 2-0 lead, and you're kind of like, oh, here we go. And Buffalo fights their way back to get the game tied up. They had some chances, but Jakub Dobic was amazing and then makes some big saves in the overtime. And then Montreal does finally go down and win it, which was weird because when they won it, this game had that feel like this thing could have gone 2 or 3 overtimes. But that's the great part about overtime hockey. Just when you're starting to think, man, this game's never going to end, it could go on forever, somebody buries one, and then it's all said and done. So anything that you threw from the Game 7 last Monday that you want to throw out there, Sarah?
I do remember watching it. Obviously seeing Montreal win it. I was low key rooting for Buffalo just because, like, obviously 2006 history. But obviously we'll get into the series earlier or later with Carolina. So I mean, but it was a very good game. Obviously, really disappointing for Buffalo, but I still think it's a good sign that better's ahead.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. This is just the start for Buffalo.
Hmm.
They've got, I think the key for Buffalo is Luka Puka Lukanen. Can he take that next step in goal for them? If he does, they've got the talent around him. They do got a couple free agents that they got to get figured out, but they're also going to have some cap space. So I agree with you. I think this is just a start for. We could be seeing a lot of Montreal Buffalo playoff series in the near future because Montreal is a very young team as well. So is Buffalo. I think Tampa Bay is kind of might be getting to the end of their window with some age concerns. So this is going to be the Atlantic Division. You're going to see a lot of Montreal and Buffalo moving forward. I think these two teams are just going to be on collision courses, which is great for the NHL because they're rivals, and that's what the NHL needs. So we're going to start out west because also remember last Monday we highlighted this series. I'll be honest, this one has me 100% stunned. I'm sitting here tonight in shock that this series could be over with tonight. Not that the series could be over with tonight, but that it's Vegas that could end up pulling off the sweep. I just did not, and maybe it's just shame on me. I just always maybe it's my hatred for Vegas between their goalie, between the city being obnoxious with the fact that they've never really had the struggle ever. Maybe it's some combination of that I just continually overlook this Vegas team and think that okay, well this is the year that it's finally gonna end, and it just never does. They just keep winning series. They make it to conference finals. They make it to the Stanley Cup finals. They make it to the playoffs. They just don't ever seem to hit it. So I don't know. Maybe that's on me, but Vegas is up 3-0. Connor Hart kind of stole the first 2 games for them with the way that he played in goal. And Colorado just didn't seem to want to get to their game, which I think Colorado throughout this whole entire series has been trying to make every goal look pretty, and they've not been willing to get to the dirty areas. And when you get to the playoffs, you need to get into the dirty areas. And for anyone that doesn't necessarily follow hockey that much, and you're wondering what the hell is he talking about with the dirty areas, you got the area right in front of the net where guys just need to go and park their ass and put in rebounds or deflect shots or make it hard for the goalie to see. Colorado really hasn't been willing on getting into that dirty area too much. And even in game three, they go up 3-0, but they're all these pretty looking goals. Vegas calms down, they get a couple, and as soon as they tied that game up, I knew Vegas was winning that game, because Colorado just seen, and now you got Nathan McKinnon, who got injured in the second period of that game. I think he's going to try to give it a go tonight, but it's still a kind of a game time decision. I think it's going to depend on how it feels when he goes out there for warmups. But it's looking really, really good for Vegas to make it to another Stanley Cup final. Sarah, what are your thoughts on this series?
Yeah, definitely not how saw it going. I mean, they had a chance game three and they gave up a 3-0 lead. It's just insane. I mean, even talking about the McKinnon injury, you have that, but then the first two games you're out with Makar, so it's like, if you're without these star players, is that truly the end of it? Um, I will, maybe this is a later rant, obviously, depending on how the game goes tonight. But God forbid, if Vegas wins the Stanley Cup, we need to start a petition where Carter Hart does not get recognized as a Stanley Cup champion. And I will die on that hill. Um,
Yeah, you and
because,
I are you and I are in agreement on that. You know that. So
because just insane that he's even playing right now. Yeah. Um, that still just makes me boil. But again, later conversation, and that's why like I'm low-key hoping for the Colorado reverse sweep, but that chance is like 2%. So I'm just gonna have to hope and pray that whoever, even if it's Montreal, I just hope and pray that Montreal just, it's
yeah,
Eastern Conference Final. That's gotta win. That's all I gotta say.
yeah, I'm with you on that. And I mean and I will give Vegas some credit for players not named Connor Hart. Pavel Doriev has been insane. He's got 10 goals. Brett Howden's been insane. He's got 9 goals. Mitch Marner, he's the only Vegas Golden Knight that I'm happy for, because we all know what happened to him in Toronto, and he did have a history sometimes of disappearing for Toronto in the playoffs. But maybe it was just the lineup around him in Toronto and not Mitch Marner, because he's been incredible these playoffs as well. So he's the only one that I'll be kind of happy for. I know we got some Caps fans out there. Nick Dowd is having a really good series for Vegas too. So but the big boys for Colorado just have to show up. I mean, Natchez has not had a goal this series. McKinnon has barely been noticeable. Landeskog has barely been noticeable. They neither, and sadly, unfortunately for them, like Wedgwood has not been good either. Like some of those goals he gave up in all three of these games, like even in game one, like they're sitting there, it's scoreless, and the next thing you know, like he just gave up a couple stinkers, really really bad ones. And the last one that Vegas scored, not counting the empty netter, was one like he's going kind of across, the player's coming across, so he is moving side to side a little bit, but he just bites way too hard on that angle and leaves the short side open. Short side is for the goalie's stick side, and just leaves it wide open. Just terrible. Just something as a goalie, being a goalie in my younger days. I know that feeling of when you're going side to side and you realize, oh crap, I went side to side too much, thinking that he wasn't going to maybe shoot. So you're trying to get in a better position on the other side, and he just left it wide open. So yeah, this series is likely over. I agree with you. I don't see the chances of the reverse sweep for Colorado happening. And then that begs the question for Colorado: what do they do with their head coach? Because he won the Stanley Cup for them his first year. But since then, like I think this team is kind of Stanley Cup or bust, and it's looking more and more like it's going to be a bust. So what do you think? Do you think that they bring back their coach, or do you think this is another one of those situations where do they fire the coach and go after Bruce Cassidy? Like, I don't know what to do. I'm drawing a blank on his name, so I got to look it up real quick because I hate saying their coach when not saying their name. But
I
what do you
don't
think?
I don't think they would fire their coach. I mean, well, maybe because I mean you have all these star players. I feel like there's barely any excuse as to why it is. The only thing you can really say is, and I said this like 2 weeks ago, the press. I didn't think it would come out this late, but this looks like it's the curse.
Jared Bedard. Jesus, I don't know why I was drawing a blank on his name, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I don't think they're
um,
gonna fire him, but I think it's just the President's Trophy curse.
yeah, I mean, he seems to always be well respected there, but I don't know. Like this is the kind of round you lose, can especially they get swept, can get a coach fired.
Mhm.
We've seen that happen before with teams where that happens. So I don't know. We'll see where this all goes. Let's see. Chipper says no, not that I like Colorado with President's Trophy and Western Conference Final. Be silly. Nobody out there to say would be better. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that at all, Chip. It's just that's why I'm kind of throwing it out there. Like, would they make a coaching change? Do they really think this is coaching? But at the same time, through these 3 games, he's not seemed to be willing on changing what they do. Like I don't know. It just seems like they're just like I said, they're just trying to make every goal look cute and pretty. And this time of year, um, that doesn't always work. So that's out west. So let's get into the east. And this series has been insanely close, insanely good. Other than game one, Montreal comes out and just steamrolls Carolina in game one, which Carolina had the 12-game break. Um, Carolina comes out 24 seconds in, gets a goal from Seth Jarvis, and Carolina fans are probably like, okay, look, yeah, see, this layoff did nothing for us. And then that was the end of the highlights for Carolina. Montreal scores 4 in the first period, truly dominated the first period. A lot of open ice chances, a lot of breakaways, just basically skating at free will. They just looked so much faster and quicker than Carolina, and they destroyed them 6-2. At that point in time, Carolina was then 1-17 under in the Eastern Conference Finals since when they last before they last won the Cup, and that would actually be 1-13 under Rod Brindamore. I think you started hearing a lot of grumblings in Carolina of here we go again. I may or may not have been one of them. I will not confess that here on this show that I was one of them, but some in the chat may know that I was. But then we get to game two, which I felt was a must-win for Carolina. They just had to get one, and games 2 and 3 are really, really spitting images of each other. Carolina got back to their defensive structure game. They eliminated a lot of chances for Montreal. But what Montreal does well is they don't necessarily need a lot of chances. When they get one, they have the speed to be able to bury them. And in these last 2 games, that's what Montreal has done to get these 2 games into overtime. Jacob Dobish has been absolutely fantastic for Montreal in goal. But at the end of the day, Carolina gets the goals in overtime. In game 2, it was by Nikolai Ehlers on just a beautiful little move through the legs, and then dekes it just enough to get Dobish moving and beats him on the short side. And then then last night it was Andrei Svechnikov getting a little bit of a monkey off of his back as he played really well this game. He had some amazing chances to score earlier and just couldn't. Sebastian Aho is in the middle. May have tipped it. Originally, they gave Aho the goal, but then they took it away and gave it back to Svech. I don't think that he did tip it, but he's there providing the screen, which we talk about a dirty goal. In that sense, that's where Aho is doing. He's providing that screen, making it difficult for Dobich to see, and they get the game winner. So this series still is in Montreal for Game 4 on Wednesday night. Carolina up 2-1. Appears to maybe be riding some ships, but this Montreal team is young. This Montreal team is fast, and I think they're definitely still not out of the series yet by any stretch of the imagination. Sarah, what are your thoughts on where the series is at?
I mean, game one was insane. The only thing I can say is we did have 11 days off, so maybe it was just a really rude awakening for us. He's talking about not him being one of those people, and like maybe somebody be in the chat. I'm in the freaking podcast. I know how he was acting. I know how Vic was acting. There were multiple accusations that series is over. There was even series over last night. Absolutely insane. But
not by me the last night.
it was
I
not
did
by
not do
you.
that.
It was not by you. I will admit that. But so I can barely talk about game one. I think I generally turned that off after period 2. I just did not. I was not in for it. Obviously, game 2, game 3, absolutely insane. I will say with game 3, because I have seen like a lot of people talk about being like, oh, Canes versus, or Montreal versus refs. If anyone watched that game, you would understand how weird the refing was in that game. Like,
it was.
There were missed calls, and then the calls that they did actually call were so soft, like things that like could have definitely gotten away with. So like it was just a very interesting turn of events. I don't think anybody's arguing that that goal wasn't offsides, but then you also have the Hudson trip, and then you also had the too many on ice for Carolina.
Yeah.
Like there were just it was on both sides. Like, it wasn't even one versus the other. They were both sides where, like, basically the teams were fighting the rest because either one, they didn't call it, or two, they're calling you for, like, if you look at a guy wrong. It was just a very interesting game last night. I don't really know what happened overall, but so I think that game was hard fought. The only thing I will mention, Montreal, you cannot expect to win this final if you're having 12 shots on goal. Did you see the thing where they had 0 shots in 24 minutes?
Yeah.
You can't win. You can't win
No.
with that. Even if you magically pull off with the series, God, Vegas is killing Colorado. You're gonna die. Like, so
Yeah, I mean,
I
it
think
worked for
Montreal
them
has
in
bigger problems right now.
Yeah, I agree. It worked for them against Tampa in that game 7 where they only got 9 shots on goal and somehow won. And look, it's not like they've been blowing out these 2 games by getting the as few shots on goals as they did. The one that really struck me was the too many men that end up not getting called because the linesman blows the play dead. And
Yes.
the linesman can't, the only penalties that they technically can call is too many men. And so he does the right thing. Montreal touches the puck, he blows the whistle, goes over, talks to the referees, and then somehow the referees decide that no, that wasn't too many men, even though it clearly was. And for those that
Yeah.
don't know, in hockey, when you're doing these line changes, there are times when you're going to have 7, 8 guys on the ice. Just because 7 or 8 guys are on the ice doesn't make it too many men because you're allowed to do a fluid line change like that when the play is going. What does, though, make it too many men is that the player that's coming onto the ice or the player that's going off the ice on the bench then touches the puck, which in this case, the Montreal player that's coming onto the ice immediately touches the puck. And normally when that happens, that's when too many men is called. That's why the linesman blew his whistle. But it's the playoffs, it's the overtime. I'm assuming that's where it was earlier in the game. Hudson in the overtime does get tripped by Robinson. Now, I don't think that one got called for 2 reasons. One is that it didn't turn over the puck. Montreal kept possession and goes up the ice. I think if it turns the puck over, I think a ref would have put his arm up. But anyone that has Twitter, you can go find the feed and you can clearly hear the referee tell Hudson, stop fucking diving. That's why it didn't get called. All right.
Yeah.
And he
That
did
was
dive on that play.
like that's what I'm saying. Like it was probably a trip, but like again, just diving. And then people were also saying like when Walker ran into
Yeah, that was Hudson. That wasn't an elbow either. It's Hudson ducks his head to make it an elbow because he ducks his head. He's
well, yeah,
trying
but like
again.
I'm talking about earlier where the 4-on-4 was called, where
Oh yeah,
Walker basically slid into Dobes, and then gosh, who even was it? Just started punching Walker, and like
yeah,
people are like, why was there a 4-on-4? The guy is punching his helmet off. Like
yeah,
you're gonna get called for goaltender. Like Walker was already gonna get called for goaltender interference. He
yep.
already knew
Took away
that.
a power
Then
play.
he made it worse by
Yeah,
conduct. Like
yep,
just take the power play, but no, they had to.
yep. Which I didn't mind. I mean, hey, it took away power play for them. Rod's
Oh, exactly. Like that
Chuck
was a
talking
good
about
call.
Rod said it best when explaining how you can't simulate playoff hockey speed after 2-week layoff. They came out slow. They picked up since then. I agree. You can't, and I think they underestimated Montreal's speed, and you could see last night that Carolina has made those adjustments to what
Mm-hmm.
Montreal likes to do because they were intercepting passes left and right. So Montreal's going to have to try a different way to get the puck up ice because it's like Carolina knew where they were going to be, and even on the last goal, it's set up by a play that they keep in the zone at the blue line, and Carolina did that a lot. If it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't for Dobish, this series would probably be Carolina probably would have blown out Montreal in games 2 and 3. But a lot of hockey still left to go. One game can change a series very, very quickly. So, and until we get to win number 12 and for the series, I am not going to count anything for certain yet. But it's definitely been an interesting series. It's been I think you have arguably the 2 loudest fan bases going head to head in
Mm-hmm.
Raleigh and Montreal. Like if anyone watched the crowd at Bell Center last night was amazing. The crowd in games 1 and 2, like you can tell because TNT actually is smart and has their guys there at the game, and you can tell because they stop talking to watch the crowd before the game even starts. Like that tells you something with both of these places. So
Mm-hmm.
and I think maybe too what pisses me off with Vegas because they steal like their anything is the goddamn hurricane siren that the Hurricanes do. Like nothing that Vegas does is their own. They are just a copycat franchise with a goaltender that shouldn't be in the league. All right, there we have it. Anything else there you want to throw into our hockey talk as we get ready to wrap up here?
No, I think we're good.
All right. Well, we've got some busy shows coming up for us, but before I plug our shows, this is the start of the Tuesday night triple header tonight. Since we did not go on air last night, we are of course on air here on Tuesday. So you have Unapologetic Sports coming up at 6:30. For those that haven't watched that show, please check it out. My favorite segment on probably maybe be our favorite segments of all the shows, which is Flying High with Brian, where he gives his players that are flying high, but you do not want to miss Lee Ice and his freezer of who's in the freezer, because it's just good stuff. You got to check them out for sure. That comes up at 6:30. Then at 8 o'clock, you have the Midnight Rider and KG. They will be leading us down the Tuesday night flight. So you start off with the drive. You got Unapologetic Sports, and then you're going to have the flight to take you back home at the end of this Tuesday evening with three really great shows, if I do say so myself, and I do. So so there we have it. So um, those are the shows that are coming up tonight. Then tomorrow, Nothing But Net will be on Wednesday, of course. So check those ones out. We'll get into Thursday shows here when I get to that spot. But we do have some good stuff coming up for us too. So our next show is going to be Sunday, June 1st. By then, chance the Stanley Cup Finals could be set. We'll see what happens. Technically, Carolina and Montreal could go to Tuesday night. There could be a Game 7 still with Vegas. On Monday night if somehow Colorado wins 3 in a row. I've talked about this the last couple of weeks, but on July 20th, we're going to have a joint show with Pretenders and Contenders and Coach Devon. This is going to be really good. We're going to have 4 officials, 4 coaches. We're going to talk about how to build better rapport with each other, how we all deal with unruly parents, and how everyone can help the declining number of officials in all these sports that's going on right now. Then I'm working on for the sports pricing out the fans. That's going to be a fun little dive that I'm going to take into just the insane amount of cost that it is costing for fans. I'm going to look at a few different topics, not only what it costs for fans to go to a game anymore between all the major ones, but what the hell it costs you just to watch it at home, and how much money these teams are getting on these arena deals and stuff like that and stadium deals. And yet, we're not seeing any of that in our pocketbooks either. So that's something else to keep an eye out for. And then as we get to the end of the NHL season, we're going to have a couple of special NHL shows. The first one's going to be on Monday, June 22nd. This is going to be right at the end of probably the Stanley Cup final, but then immediately that next weekend is the NHL draft. So we'll have our first round mock draft to go over. And then we're not going to have a show on Monday, June 29th. Our show is going to be a Wednesday, July 1st. This is going to be a special show. We're going to start at noon, which is when the NHL free agency starts. So we'll start the show with using a chance to recap what happened in the actual first round of the draft. We'll see how we did in our picks, and then hopefully by the time we get to that 12:30, 1 o'clock hour, we should start seeing some of these free agent moves come in, and we'll try as we get ready for that. Probably that Monday, June 22nd show, we'll give a list of free agents and who's out there and who will be the big names to watch come July 1st. It's not as spicy as it could have been, but it's always a fun day. And I think more so than anything, what we could see a lot be going into the draft is a lot of trades. So it's going to be, just because the Stanley Cup is winding down, as soon as that Stanley Cup is won, that's when the NHL league season for the next season really begins. And it's going to be interesting this year, especially like teams like the Caps that have the cap space to use. It's going to be fun for sure. So anything on our future shows, Sarah, that you want to throw out there?
July 1st, somebody's going to be with you.
Yeah, we're
So
gonna. I gotta figure out how we're gonna do that. I guess we'll just do it here, and I just won't have the headphones on. But like, M's gonna we're having our I do the Catlin wedding barbecue comes up in a couple days, so we're gonna have a lot of the family in town. So we're gonna have to find someplace quiet to do the show too. But that's what. But I already cleared it with Maul that we could do the show because I did not want to say, hey, this is what we're gonna do. Are you okay with that? And then be like, what the hell are you doing? So she's already cleared us for doing the show. So that's what's coming up on Drive Time. And then like I just talked about, you've got a lot of great shows here to check out. Pretenders or Contenders, of course, on Monday night. Unapologetic Sports coming up here in a matter of 22 minutes. Tuesday night flight at 8 o'clock tonight. Tomorrow, Nothing But Net. I'm sure they're going to break down what happened with the Cavs. And I might even have to check and listen to that to see their thoughts on what the hell the Cavs do in the future, because I'm very curious to see what this team does to try to get over this to get it into past the conference finals if they can. Thursday night throwdown at 8 o'clock, WrestleManiacs Saturday at 9, and then the Sunday Rise at 11 a.m. on Sunday. That is what you have to look forward to for us here. And so there you have it. That is this week's show. Sarah, do you have any final thoughts you'd like to say before we say bye-bye for the evening?
Not really, no.
Not really, no. You're just done.
I don't have anything nice to say.
Well, that doesn't mean you can't say it.
No,
We don't have to. We don't have to always be nice on the show.
nah, I'm good.
You're allowed to vent. I'll give you 2 seconds to vent.
If it's next week, then I can go on a Carter Hart rant and I'll be fine.
Okay.
Bless me. We'll hold it
All
off.
right.
It's not official yet.
Not official yet. That's true. All right. Well, I guess we'll have to wait for 1 week. So, all right. Well, there you have it, folks. Thanks for chiming in. Thanks for everyone in the comments. Always appreciate the comments. Always makes the show a little bit better. But as we kind of start off the show with, just please make sure you tell your loved ones that you love them and give them a hug, because tomorrow is not guaranteed. But if you are here, hopefully you'll be here again with us next week here on the Sideline Junkies with Drive Time. And hopefully, hey, hang around for 21 minutes and catch out on Apologetic Sports. You never know who might show up on that show. Until then, everyone. Take care. See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya.